Some people have accused the Royal Guards of being partial in the way they relate to different tourists. And honestly, you can't blame them. You must have noticed the terrible behaviour of some tourists who don't care whether they are being filmed or not. So why would anyone be surprised when the Royal Guards choose to be kind toward children while being arrogant toward adults? Let's take a look at some of these instances and see if these adults deserved what they got. As we get into it, please like the video, subscribe to the channel and tap the bell to be notified about our new stories. This little kid was standing in the wrong place and actually blocking the path of the marching Royal Guard. Of course, there was no way for the kid to be aware that she was breaking any rules. You can see that the guard understood, and that was why he quickly slowed his march so that he wouldn't collide with the girl who didn't even know where to run. You can see how scared she was, and thankfully, the guard noticed too. Now, let's look at how marching guards deal with adults who make the mistake of blocking their path. The man with the camera was also standing in the way, just like the girl in the first video, but you can see that the guards didn't even consider slowing down for him. Obviously, it is expected that tourists should be observant and ensure that they have noted the rules of visitation, especially since they are adults who understand how the world works. This is why the guards expect everyone visiting to behave in the best way. So, when adult tourists misbehave, the guards tend to be harsh in response. The police officer was so quick to fulfill this young fan's wish, despite the fact that the request was to go to a restricted area of the yard completely reserved for Royal Guards alone. In case you don't know, such things don't normally happen, but in this case, for some reason, the guards allowed this kid and his mother to take a picture inside the booth where the guards have to stand. And honestly, the little boy looked so adorable, you couldn't help but be happy he got the opportunity. But when an adult thought they could pull this same move, they got the shock of their life.
Now the box!
This woman thought she could just sneak into the guard's booth for a picture and the guards would simply turn a blind eye. She thought wrong. She probably thought she would get away with it while the guard was marching, not knowing that she had literally been caught with her entire body in the cookie jar. This is a place that belonged to the guards, and here they can do as they please. Unless they invite you, which is a rare privilege, you shouldn't make the mistake of inviting yourself. To them, this was a new height of disrespect. Talking about disrespect, check out this tourist. This lady gets to take a picture, and instead of focusing on taking a picture, she goes ahead and starts playing with the Royal Guard's plumes. And you wonder why the guards yell at anyone who comes too close. It is obviously because people don't know how to respect boundaries. This is a soldier, and not a toy for showcasing fashion accessories. Did she think she was at a clothing store? And then she had the guts to be offended when the guard reacted to the unwanted attention she was forcing on him. Since this woman got this reaction from the guard, you would assume the next person who touched the guard would regret it, right? While this one kid was standing at a safe distance and quietly taking a picture, this other younger boy came up to the guard held by his mum and was like, "What's up, bro?" Check out the adorable way he gently patted the guard's coat. It was enough to disarm the mighty soldier. Kids are way too innocent to do anything out of spite. This was something the guard understood and was not bothered about the touching. Even when the boy's mother apologized, the guard smiled. Such kindness from the Royal Guard is only reserved for children and tourists who show some measure of respect. Look at this guy, for example.
What a handsome lad. You are handsome.
Harassing the guard who is busy at work with unnecessary small talk, especially when it is well known that Royal Guards are not permitted to talk to tourists. This guy then continued to bother the guard when he refused to react in any way. You can hear the lady that came with the tourist encouraging the stupidity. Eventually, when they saw all their antics weren't working, they decided to yell at the guard under the guise of complimenting him. And you are surprised that the guards sometimes react negatively to some adults while being kind to children? Kids simply make it so easy for these serious, very focused soldiers to break that stoic posture like in this next video. In this example, you can see that these two kids were so afraid to touch the horse, and they kept doubting until the guard encouraged them to touch. If it were some adult tourists, he would have probably yelled at them to move away from the horse. But for children, he was touched by their bravery and the fact that they thought to first seek his permission before touching the horse. What is wrong with the way adults touch the horse? Check this out. This lady didn't think it necessary to seek permission from the horse rider. Then she proceeded to hold the horse's reins, completely ignoring the sign that said, "Don't touch the reins." You can see how quickly the guard forced her to drop those reins. And she is not the first nor the last person who touches the reins of the horses, despite the rules in place. This next adult is guilty of the same thing. This tourist too is another great example of tourists pushing the guard button. Take your picture by standing close to the horse and ensure there is some space that allows you to be safe when the horse misbehaves. And since nobody could pinpoint the exact time for when the horse will misbehave, is it not better to ask the guards and follow their instructions? This teenager marching in front of the guard and inside a restricted area should have been questioned. This was a great example of how parents shouldn't raise their children. After doing all that, the guard patiently remained unmoved and focused on his business. When the teen decided he wanted a picture, it unfortunately coincided with the time the guard was supposed to go on his march. But imagine the guard's surprise when this teen refused to move out of the way, so the guard just marched right into him. This is not something that rarely happens. Check out this group of adult protesters who decided to put their bodies right in front of a group of marching royal guards. You can see that no one stopped marching. That's because when the guards begin to march, they do so with purpose, and nothing on their path would stop them from getting to their destination. This is a long-standing tradition. It's not something they just added because of tourism. That's why, when you visit the grounds, you are supposed to note those lines on the ground and be aware of these soldiers who are just doing their duty. There are places you aren't supposed to go into like this. Some adults may complain that the guards have it out for them, but they forget that it is a result of the behavior of other tourists. The archway is an area that is restricted, and there are more than enough signs that you are not supposed to go in there, apart from the signs on the wall. Perhaps the fact that no other person except the guard is standing in that area. You would think that is enough to give some tourists the right perspective. But no, people keep making the same mistake, something you would expect the children to do. Look at this lady's actions too. Why would you even think of doing that? It is obvious the rubbish doesn't belong to the soldier. So why did you think it was the wisest thing to kick a piece of rubbish into his cubicle? And anyone wonders why guards are arrogant towards adults. The examples are just too numerous. We can see from some of these videos that the royal guards are humans and do have a preference for the sweet, adorable and respectful children. And can you blame them when they keep dealing with the serious demands of their jobs and at the same time they are expected to deal with the disrespect that comes from some adult tourists? The royal guard will continue to be kind to kids because they make it easy, and arrogant towards adults because they make it hard. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel and tap the bell to receive our new stories.